Welcome to episode 6 of Nexus Now, a Nexus gaming series podcast bringing you news, stories, and personalities from the NGS community, as well as the greater Heroes of the Storm universe. I am one of your hosts, Murda. I'm joined, as always, by my two very good friends here, Ghost Dunk and Bobo. How you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Murda. How you doing?
Oh, fantastic. And Bobo, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm getting by, BB. I'm happy to be here with you fine gentlemen on this lovely Saturday morning.
Nexus Now would not be here if it were not for the support of our patrons, so a huge thank you to all of you NGS supporters out there. And if you find yourself wanting to join our Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/Nexus Gaming Series. There's a lot of cool new stuff here with Season 5, some new tiers to contribute. Guys, this is some really big changes to our Patreon.
Absolutely. We have added some new tiers. We are slowly approaching 100 patrons, which would be an outstanding achievement for us here at Nexus Gaming Series. And actually, the creative department has come up with some cool logos. Guys, I think you've seen some of those. Those look fantastic, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know Crow's done a couple of them. I think he did Planet Smashers.
Yeah.
He did G Guardian Esports. They look really good. So on our last podcast, episode 5, we had our enormous season 5 preview. If you have not yet tuned in, it's not too late. Go ahead and check out episode 5. You can find it on your favorite podcast provider and listen to what we had to say about some of these teams. See how we're doing so far with our predictions, our projections. But it's been a little bit since we've had an episode, guys. We took at least one extra week off. What have you guys been up to? I know personally I've been doing a bunch of casting, but Ghost, how's Moto Miracle doing?
They're there.
No, we're fine. We've had some rough games. We're new to Div A. We're looking at trying to get in here. We have taken a map in here, and I think we're going to fare better against some of the other teams. I mean, we faced some pretty tough teams right away. We faced Blasting Burrows. We went up against Archetype. We went up against Adults with Jobs. Big shout out to them, by the way, from me. Those guys are awesome. But so we dropped a lot of maps. We're looking to get back into the swing of things, and we have a new offlaner. We're looking at position switching. I went to tank, which I starting to get a lot more comfortable on. I'm starting to really feel that position.
Attaboy.
I could go on forever about this stuff, but it's been a lot of fun playing. It's been a lot of fun casting. I've been casting the crap out of things too.
And Bobo, have you had an opportunity to even play the video game with your schedule?
Listen, I play the video game. People know that if they lurk in the unranked, they may find a lone wandering Bobo looking to get picked up by a plucky band of adventurers. But most of the early parts of Season 5, I've just been lurking on Twitch, watching everybody's killer streams. I've been checking out all the new casters, getting that kind of stuff done. And obviously, we have just started up our NGS Game of the Week. Trying to get more out of the NGS Twitch page this season. Keep an eye out, throw a follow out to the mothership, and there will definitely be more content as the season goes along. All right. Seems like it wraps it up for part number 1.
Yeah, how many games have you casted so far, you guys?
Murda's at 135. Murda's at 100. Give or take, I don't know what, another 60 or so.
I did 15 in round 1. And then
Nice.
I've gotten 6 in here in round 2 so far, so 21 total.
Yeah, you don't play the video game anymore. I've yelled at you quite a few times.
This is factual.
Calm down, Grasshopper. We need to get you back into the video game. It's been kind of a while, man.
I fell behind this week. I was keeping up with Murda. I have 16 games so far, but I didn't get... Tuesday is my game day to cast usually, and everything was taken this Tuesday, so I didn't get to cast anything.
I don't think I have a single cast this week, which has been a wonderful breath of fresh air. I'm not at all lazy, and that definitely has not been reflective of my real life or work aspirations. But I'll get back into it. Like I said, this week was about setting up the game of the week, and a shout out to Graysville and Mongoose for helping that bad boy out.
Yeah, fantastic job they did too. I got to tune into a bit of it, and having the first big production outside of the playoffs in the history of NGS was a really big deal. And I thought those two hosts specifically were perfect candidates for the inaugural edition of Game of the Week.
I just want to shout up all the new casters that we got because we have so many casters. It looks like we had 7 going at one time on Tuesday, which is amazing. Wow. So that's the kind of time I want to see where like I can't cast because we have too many people casting. That's fantastic. I'm very glad to hear. Like, just looking at some of these new caster names: Broiled Beef, Cody Kraz, some old faces, Akuma. Some new Tootie Moss has been killing it too. Tootie Moss has been casting a bunch.
He's been casting a ton, and I love it. He's got that little German accent. I'm like, oh my god! All right, I like this.
The man, the Moss, the legend. Tootie's been doing a great job.
The more we can do to make Heroes Lounge jealous of us, the better. And bring in some European flavor, I think, will help with that.
So good. All right, 4. Episode number 6 on the table of contents for this episode. We're going to start things off with some Season 5 impressions. We'll let you guys know what has caught our eye this early in this fresh young season. We will move on and speak about some of the upcoming changes to Heroes of the Storm. We're going to touch on the newest hero to come out as Dur Mephistos, the Lord of Hatred, will soon be entering the Nexus. We got changes to Hanamura. We've got a balance patch coming through as well. So a lot of things in flux here in the early part of the season. And then our interview for today will be welcoming Kala into Nexus now. And fellas, we're quite excited to have this one. We've been hoping to get Kala on for a number of weeks. We had to get the schedules to line up quite well, but this is certainly going to be one of our more anticipated and, dare I say, in advance, one of our best guests.
Yeah, this is one we've been kind of looking forward to for a while. We've had it in the works, I believe, behind the scenes, and finally getting it to happen today is going to be, it's a big deal for us. I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I've been a subscriber to Kala for a long time. I know a lot of NGS people are big Kala fans, so I think everyone's waiting for this. But we're going to get into it right now with what NGS people want to hear, which is us talking about them. Here we're going to talk about our Season 5 impressions so far. Round 1 is complete. Round 2 is underway at the time of this recording. Guys, it's been a really good start to the season so far. You guys enjoying it, watching all those games?
Having a front row seat nightly, getting to do all the casting that we do, it's, you get to see a side of these teams that other people don't get to witness, and there's been so much good action. I've actually, I believe, casted almost every single division to this point, so just in each division there's different storylines all over the place. There's so much to talk about, and like, really, where do we start?
I mean, I've seen good games in Storm Division. I've seen good games in E Division. Like, it's been all over. I've seen bad games in Storm and Heroic Division. I've seen bad games in the lower division. So it really doesn't matter what division you're in. But I do remember there was one cast where, like, it was on Cursed Hollow and the teams just wouldn't end. And I was getting like Hero League flashbacks of just like, just hit the core.
Someone needs to whisper them, just go core, man.
Yeah, just... we're gonna take a look at how these check out some of the stories in some of these divisions here. I'm gonna start with Division E, and the story here in Division E is we've got Pigeon Stitches up at the top, but they're not the only ones here. In round 1, a bunch of teams went 5-1. So looking at Married and Mediocre, looking at Meme Factory LLC, and looking at Nexus Cats, and as well as the Princess People is gone 8-2. So they've gotten some of their round 2 games out of the way here. So a lot of really strong competition here at the top in Division E. Looks to be very competitive.
Yeah, I've had a really fun time casting some Division C East. Give Me the D Shield did a fantastic job. I know a few of those guys back from the Gamers of the Storm old community that existed, and it was just a lot of fun getting to watch them play. I know House of Ches is playing really well, also up there at the top of the division, and it's a division to keep your eyes on because I think there's a lot of good teams that are at the top of that division that are going to be competing for those playoff spots.
Crowded space. Again, it's early in the season. We do have Swiss formatting. So we'll see if the schedule is conducive to keeping all these teams kind of bunched up and playing each other. And hopefully, I like seeing the sort of crowded standings up at the top. For instance, we do see that like both like AEs, we see Heroic. They're both pretty tightly packed. I do want to give a shout out to Cass and the crew from First Pick Gazlo. I did get to see them earlier in the season. They are looking really strong at the top of AE East. They're always a fun team because you just kind of take your notebook and you throw it out. And you just let them rip whatever it is they want to rip. That's always a fun one. Storm
season four, First Pick Gazlo, GG, they had a really good start. Can they keep up this pace they have going right now, Boba?
I mean, to a degree, they do rely a little bit on teams not knowing exactly what they're going to do. But remember, this is a team that like does not always have to play a specialist, and I think it's sort of commonplace. Like they'll play one sort of meme-ish game, even though it's not a meme to them, and then one sort of standard comp game. And I mean, listen, they're just strong mechanical players.
I'll say this for First Pick Gazlo, like having interviewed them and having done Division A writing last season, they actually had a rough start to the season, or a rough time in the middle, because they went through some personnel changes. They were trying to basically figure out their team, and then they had a rough time in the playoffs because Cass wasn't there during the first game. So
it's always a factor here in NGS. Mm-hmm. You never know who's going to be around when. Well, we wish everybody the best. I mean, there's also, again, the new teams and the hot new names. I love to see this kind of stuff as well. I want to give a shout out to the teams up at the top in Storm and Heroic as we start to get some of these new sponsorships in there. I do love certainly seeing like Pride Star Gaming. I just like seeing the names and the orgs up there as well, as the teams are doing well. FWC involved. So we've been bringing in some different sponsors. Remember, this is the first season we actually have teams from Diplom Union Gaming League as well as Charity Gaming League. I think that's cool. They have like big brother teams and little sister teams. So it's really cool to see the organizations that have different levels of competition as well. I dig that a lot.
Speaking of sister teams and Heroic Division, Regen Black, right up at the top. Murda's own group there, Regen, right up there tied with Get Stuffed. So those two teams looking real good. And Get Stuffed, I have a little bit of a bias. They're good scrim partners of ours. So any help we can give them, we're willing to do that, because they're very good scrim partners. And I do enjoy discussing with John Knight about some of the finer points of the game.
Yeah, Battlejet and Psycho, also really great guys in that team. I'm excited for them, and I mean their logo's legit. It's the actual Get Stuffed ability logo for Tracer. I like that. Yeah,
team full of Tracer mains. What can go wrong? But but I want to jump back a little bit. Just behind First Pick Gazlo is Happy Accidents, a team I think that has sort of formed from the ashes. And I know Park 555 from the Nexus Schoolhouse Discord channel, where he frequents, and he does a lot of talking with people in that Discord, getting coaching, getting advice, and he's put together a really strong team. They seem to be off to a really good start.
I agree. They're bringing the Jaeger bombs. Always good to see Jaeger, not just on the team, obviously, but doing well this season. We do see our editor-in-chief Jackster and the UCF Death Knights doing pretty well.
I've always liked them.
I've always liked them. Yeah. I was never not on that wagon. A East is one of my favorite divisions right now, just because, again, it's fairly well grouped up at the top. Those are the divisions that we like to see. You know, the chaos, if you will, week to week, the standings changing and whatnot. Those are definitely amongst my favorite divisions. A quick peek up at the Storm Div. Fellas, this is the first season that we've had Storm Division. Bringing in a number of different teams here. We moved some teams up that we saw last season at Heroic, as well as a number of new entrants. Your impressions of Storm thus far?
I mean, it's all about the team name change in Trademark Gaming, battling it out for that top position up there at the top. But other than that, I mean, it could go anyway. We just got started, and outside of those two, it's really anybody's game. It's a very close field.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 8-2 for TNC, 4 dominations. I think that's like close to the most dominations out of the entire NGS right now. But I mean, 8-2 is a great start, and the schedule for them is just going to get a little bit easier from here on out, as they've played a few of these teams already up at the top.
We'll see how it shakes out, because there are a number of teams that have some catching up to do there in the Storm division. But again, fun. We have so many different divisions. It's absolutely wild to see 7 different divs with a number of them having East and West Coast. It can be hard to keep up. But thankfully, we have this lovely new website with a lovely new standings page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flipping through it's a lot of fun. I think before I go to bed every night, I'm like, hey, let's go check out some of these results. Who's winning games? Like, what's going on? And it changes so frequently. And with the way the rounds are set up, a lot's on the line with every single match that like you really want to be winning every single time you play. You can't afford to lose when you have 14 teams in a division.
Yeah. Week 2, I think, is going to be one of the more interesting weeks of the season. I think sort of the very beginning and the week 2 and then the very end of the season are probably the most exciting points of the season, because with round 2, you start to see teams separate and you start to set up the storyline for the rest of the division. So a bunch of teams are up at the top, but a good win streak could bring any one of these teams back into contention in any one of these divisions. So this is going to be the week to watch games. So I want to make a quick shout out to Falendrinth, who made an incredible program called Stats of the Storm, as well as keeping up the database of NGS games that you can then look through and find out what people are playing. And looking at Stats of the Storm, there's some meta facts that I'd like to share about NGS as a whole. So looking at NGS as a whole, some of the best win rate stuff. So we're going to talk about the meta here and who's winning and who's actually being played. Maiev has seen a huge win rate as well as being very popular across all divisions, but isn't popular enough in each division to really mean anything. But when you look at all of them together, Maiev is doing very well. And then, of course, you've got Asmodan, who is just killing it across all the divisions. And then Deckard, who's had got an incredible win rate and an 82% popularity vote. So he is picked or banned in 82% of games. So not only is he being picked and banned a lot, he's still winning despite everyone picking him. But if you look at the different divisions, you've got different heroes that come to the top. And here I'm just looking at heroes that have a very high win rate, generally above 60, and have a lot of games for them. So, you've got 100% hero stuff like Samuro won one game. Here's the heroes that have define the meta in each one of these divisions. So in the Storm division, Alex and Murden, top of the tier, and then Heroic as well, we've got Alex Straza. So the top division is playing a lot of Alex, but in Heroic, we're also seeing a Deckard and Diablo doing very well. Div A is actually the most crazy division. There's not a lot of conclusive ones here. A lot of teams playing a lot of different heroes, but Leoric, Malf, Diablo, Cassia, Johanna, they've all got decent win rates, but not a huge amount of games, so take that with a grain of salt. Div B is all about the Raynor. Raynor is killing it in Div B. Other than that, we've got Rhaegar, Kael'thas, and Deckard. Div C, the same thing, except no Raynor. Rhaegar, Kael'thas, and Deckard are killing it. Div D, we've also got Raynor. Raynor, it's Rhaegar, the dog.
I want Raynor the hero. Can we get that now?
I am Raynor, hero, tier 2 win Division D and C.
Oh my God.
But also with Division D, we've got Jaina, Stukov, Murden. So Murden making another appearance there. And Div E, very interesting. We've got Dahaka and Johanna, the wave clear warriors themselves. And that'll do it for the NGS meta. This has been NGS Meta today on NGS Meta.
Oh God, I really I enjoy the support meta right now and how this is kind of working out. Because if you guys sort of rewind it, you go back to season 4, every single game, Stukov, Malfurion, Stukov, Malfurion, Stukov, Malfurion, Malfurion, Stukov, and now we have Deckard and Alex. And one thing that always intrigued me was teams trying to find out who is the third support out of whatever the current tier is, and I think it's absolutely fascinating that it is that Rhaegar. Rhaegar, right now, according to Stats of the Storm, has the highest win rate of all supports. He has one of the lower ban rates, as people just not really paying attention to the wolf. But it certainly seems like it's working very well across all of our divisions. And that Malfurion that we talked about before, his win rate has plummeted. He's down at about 45%. He is below heroes such as Alex, such as Lucio, and even Lily making an appearance here early in the season.
Nice. And Bubba, let's not forget, the newest hero to the game, Whitemane, has been starting to make a splash here in NGS this season, at least this round 2, as she's finally available to be played. And I've had the opportunity to cast, I think, 3 or 4 maps already with her on it, and she's been playing really solid. I know I did Divine 9 the other day up against Disco Tease, and I mean, they played it really well. Judge Brett on support playing that white main, and he looks solid.
Yeah, she has a terrible win rate right now in HCC while the pro teams try to figure her out. But her efficacy in the NGS, so far, while we don't quite have the numbers yet, I think we'll try to update everybody within 2 weeks when we get a lot better, like a stat base on white main. But white main, like in a nutshell, game of the week, game number 2 on Volskaya. I'll just give you a quick sequence here. Blasting Burrows, Zhou was playing the white main, and the enemy team dives in hard. It gets on top of a Gul'dan to the point where Diablo actually gets a full combo, including APOC off on Gul'dan. And white main keeps that hero alive long enough to go squeeze into a bunker. And I think those are the kind of plays that we're looking for with white main. Those maybe 5 to 6 second bursts where she is just a support god. And no matter how much damage you put out against the enemy team, white main just seems to have a way where everybody walks away with more health than when they showed up. It's odd. It's a massive effect. I know a lot of teams have been playing around with both of her heroics too. Ghost Dunk, listen, as the man who is playing the video game more than us, your thoughts on white main and NGS thus far?
I'll do it with an anecdote. So a lot of times we've been playing Team League, and what we'll do is we'll draft white main, and we'll go and we'll fight, and we'll start to lose, and I'll be like, okay, back out. And then our support player, Sir Sean Sheep, will say, no, go back in. Ghost, go in. Ghost, go in. And I will just have health. They will throw all their spells at me, and I will still be alive somehow, and that's the story of white main.
So let's talk a bit about some of the crazy...
This just in, I'm getting a report. This is breaking news, hot off the press. It looks like one of the teams in NGS in round 1 ran a 5 specialist comp. The virtual Murky Slayers take home a win on Towers of Doom with Gazlo, Zool, Nazeebo, Abathur, and Medivh.
I'm disappointed no Zagara. I'm just really disappointed that they didn't rip the Zag.
They get the double support in Abathur and Medivh, right?
I mean, does Nazeebo count anymore? Is Nazeebo still a specialist? Are we still
Nazeebo
going there?
is considered a specialist, yes.
Oh, heroes fix that.
I know.
But that also does, we bring up the 5 specialists, but ladies and gentlemen, there was one hero that has not been picked yet, according to Stats of the Storm. Can anybody take a hot guess on who that little guy is?
Beep, boop, beep, 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 boop, beep.
I'm going to guess Murky. Probius.
Nobody wants to play Probius. If anybody wants to make Cat Peach happy and hear the lady squee a little bit, maybe you can try to find a way to sneak it into one of her casts. But I think that's cool. I do, just jumping around a little bit. Some of these crazy comps have been nice to see. We've also seen people do things. I've seen a number of Samro bans against Gilly Shark because nobody wants to deal with Stark doing that. So hero diversity seems like a really cool thing that we've got going on thus far in Season 5.
And shouting out some more craziness around NGS, Murky has been played by 3 teams so far. 8-second respawn, of course, giving a token Murky pick, because you gotta with that name. Rainbow Spectrum has played the Murky with none other than B. Meduho, which is how I'm gonna pronounce that name. But the real Murky story here is MHS Tigers have been playing a ton of it with Blackfist on that Murky. So a big shout out for the Murky game there. They've been really running it in a lot of their compositions, so they are not going to get away from the Murky anytime soon.
It's wild. We're putting these teams on blast right now. I mean, you're going to start seeing some target bans against Murky down in these divisions.
That's interesting because you don't know if they're going to appreciate it or, maybe they get a free pick or they're going to be mad. I mean, I don't want to take away anybody's frog in a bubble.
I mean, don't take away their frog in a bubble. I mean, if we don't want to take it away, you shouldn't want to take it away. Just let them run the Murky, and you'll figure out how to stop it.
I mean, there's only like 25 counters to Murky, so...
Yeah. Just kill the fish! Just kill the fish! That's all I want to say to everyone out there trying to face Murky right now.
We just want to take a minute to give a couple of shout outs to some teams that we've casted and enjoyed thus far. I do want to give a shout out to Renoris and Virtuoso, players on Archetype. I love seeing the support tank synergy up there as Archetype has had a fantastic start to A West. Strong comeback after, a little bit of a disappointing last season. They look like they're going to be early contenders in Div A. I also want to give a shout out to Kael'thas. This is really cool because we have not seen Kael'thas in a hot minute. This is a hero that as a caster you love to see because generally whenever there's a Kael'thas involved, there's going to be a lot of kills. There's going to be a lot of people trying to kill the Kael'thas. There's going to be a lot of turnaround and blow up. But I mean, this is a hero that early on in the season is trending at a huge popularity rate. In fact, right now, amongst assassins, he's like 5th in popularity. He's more popular than Greymane, Hanzo, Li Ming, Gul'dan. Like, you see him a lot. And the win rate is not bad. His win rate is currently, and I'm taking a peek at this, one of the higher amongst the high popularity heroes. Listen, Kael'thas is much more critical to victory than anything such as Phoenix or Jaina or apparently Jim Raynor. Not words that I thought I'd be saying here in season number 5.
Yeah, he's an old-time favorite hero. A lot of players who play the mage role used to play him a lot, and he kind of fell out of favor a bit. And I think with that rework he got, or I should say a balance patch he got a couple weeks ago, he's kind of made reason for people to pick him up again, and he's just playing well.
I've casted a whole bunch of games myself, not nearly as much as Murda, who is on a tear. But some of the stuff I'd like to point out, Excel Esports versus Durotan's Couch. Go back and watch the core race there on Sky Temple. It gives new meaning to the word calculated. I also want to shout out Sean Kingston versus Good Luck in the Nexus, and especially Good Luck in the Nexus because those guys are awesome. I love casting their team, so I will do it every time I get a chance to. But that game in particular, the Dragonshire game there, is one to watch. A lot of back and forth, a lot of really interesting play, and just a very exciting game. And there's another game I didn't cast, Team Name Change versus Trademark Gaming. The two Titans atop Storm Division duked it out, and Trademark Gaming came away with it there, and they did it with a Samuro on Battlefield of Eternity. So I would check that out for sure.
How nice and spicy. The Samuro on BOE. I do remember seeing that last season. I think Corgi played that,
Booty.
right?
Corgi
on BOE.
Booty.
Like the Samuro pocket pick seems to be, making a little bit of an appearance here.
This time it was KJ Kags.
KJ, yes.
I just want to shout out KJ.
I've been waiting to see the Samuro because I have long suspected that Samuro will sort of take the place of TLV. And with a lot of these like triple soak and like backline dive comps, and I think it's awesome to see, and I hope to get a little bit more of the Blade Master here in season 5.
Yeah, before we go, I just want to real quick throw out that Virtual Murky Slayers 5 specialist composition. You can watch it on it was cast by Hana and Argy, and it's on Hana's channel at twitch.tv/Hanamoni_, or you can check the VODs channel in the NGS Discord.
All right, and in this next segment, we want to talk a bit about some of these changes that have come already to Heroes of the Storm and what is upcoming this coming week on the PTR, as we see Hanamura getting an update. It's a few new things that are coming out. Single payload, the camps have changed, and you can now directly attack the core. So make sure you go over and check out the preview video that Blizzard put out on the brand new Hanamura. It's available over on their website. We also have a fantastic new hero that has been highly anticipated for the longest time. Mephisto is joining the ranks of these Heroes of the Storm.
What was his full name, Bobo?
Duel Mephistos.
Duel
the Lord of Hatred.
Duel Mephistos.
AKA that guy that killed you with all the lightning that you didn't know where it came from when you first started playing Diablo 2.
Bienvenido, Duel Mephistos.
I think he killed me more than anybody else in D2.
Duel Mephistos.
I think. Any old school Diablo players?
I was always a fan of fighting against Bale. I thought he was a lot of fun, and I got tilted every time people called him Baal.
I mean, that's actually what it is, because that's actually a thing, is Baal, is B-A-apostrophe-A-L. That's actually how you're supposed to pronounce it, but Bale's cool, too.
I thought it was Bale. You mean all these years I've been debated?
Wow.
I mean, I can't speak for Diablo, but I can speak for real life in that the demon is Baal.
You just got bodied by Ghost. Well played. Murda. How does it feel?
I guess
I feel like my whole childhood's changed now.
God. I have been rethinking everything.
It reminds me of my friend used to play this game called Nobunaga's Revenge, but he was a kid, so he called it Nobunga's Revenge.
I played that video game too. That took me a little while.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to hold back and wait until Kevin Johnson does a hero preview for Baal. We'll see how he pronounces it.
I mean, if it's Bale, I'm going to be like, okay, Blizzard. That works for me. I guess the apostrophe is not there, so it's different.
Good God. All right.
We'll
Mephisto.
find out.
Welcome to pronunciation chat here on NGS Now.
Mephisto, where do we think this hero is
Doing
going to
Mephisto.
slot in, other than the fact that he looks like he makes the most incredible plays? This is
So-
a really cool kit. A lot of cool abilities.
We talked a bit about it during our prep work for this, but it's a hyper carry mage. That's all intents and purposes appears what Blizz is trying to do with this hero, right?
Yes, he plays at the cigar range, so he's only got 4.5 auto attack range, and he just looks like the kind of hero that has to get in deep. He does have the escape built into his kit with Shade of Mephisto, but it is quite a risky proposition for him to use.
Deep.
I don't know what kind of comps he's going to fit into, but the other side of this is that this is a hero who is based around cooldown reduction. So you have a mage whose auto attacks, even though they are relatively weak, are extremely important.
I mean, you say deep, but not too deep. He's basically, in my estimation, kiting, quote, colon, the hero. Like, you want to keep people at a distance so you can get your Lightning Nova and then your auto attacks on them, and use your Skull Missile to poke them out. And then your Shade of Mephisto allows you a lot of different, like, utility. You know, you can make a lot of plays with it. You can jump in on people, auto attack them. You can chase people down. You can get away. You can dodge stuff. It's fun.
Looks
So
like
an interesting thing for me was if you guys have, obviously you guys have played Diablo, and maybe some of you listeners have played as well, but when you bring more players into an instance of the game, you get an announcement that the enemies have just gotten more difficult. And it's similar here with Mephisto. As more of your own allied players approach an enemy Mephisto gets stronger because he gets that extra cooldown reduction, that extra damage from these abilities. And it's kind of like a fun nod to that mechanic from Diablo.
And it's going to be interesting to see, because as you talked about, this is a hero that just demands your attention. Where does he fit in? He looks like he certainly does enough damage to be the primary DPS, but the reason we sort of highlight as a hyper carry mage, if you will, is whether or not when he is being played, he sort of changes what you're going to need to surround him with. Does he need to have, sort of an off support babysit him? Does he, how well does he work with the likes of heroes like Medivh or Tassadar, even Abathur? Can he shoulder the burden as your lone ranged attacker? What kind of support do you need to play with him as well? Hopefully we're going to get our hands on this hero in the PTR soon.
Yeah. Well, the difference between this and Tassadar is that Tassadar's shield has a lifesteal built into it for auto attack, and this is ability damage. So it's a little bit different for this, but I think we all saw the Pally Time Mephisto Ana combination there, and that was just disgusting.
And
Yeah,
as
that consumes
Jax will
souls is-
say, we need any reason that we can to get Ana back at the Nexus.
Well, I mean, she's going to have a place. I think you're right that Ana should make it in, but if any hero is going to be a case for her, Mephisto's it's certainly one of them.
Also coming through this week was yet another big balance patch. We have a number of changes, a number of buffs and nerfs. Among those heroes getting nerfed, you see Azmodan, Raynor. Those are two heroes that have been a high contest rate here early in the season. There were a lot of buffs coming through as well. We did see Chromie get a little bit of power placed back into her kit. And then the big one is the Kel'Thuzad changes. We just talked about it off in our prep work. You guys seen a lot of Kel'Thuzad play. People are trying to make this hero work yet again.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just the novelty of the patch. At least from my games, people are bringing in Kel'Thuzad and just going full Q build, which does a ton of damage, has a ton of wave clear, and that's going to win you a lot of games, especially at lower MMRs. And Q build was always good. It was always gave you a lot of sustained damage. It just didn't have the impact that immediately blowing people up did. So,
I mean, this buff on the damage from 70 to 82 with every single tick, that is a huge increase in damage.
That's
on
20%. That's a 20% buff.
Yeah, and just speaking personally from games I've played, I did some Hero League last night. He's being picked so frequently now. Every single game I played, Kel'Thuzad was in it, and I'm like the low diamond ranks right now. But he's been playing a lot, and he's doing a ton of damage. And you're right, it's the sustain style damage more so than the burst we saw previously.
I think people forgot what Death and Decay does and how strong it can be. Remember, there was like a Q build, a Death and Decay build for Kel'Thuzad. It was very rarely picked. But now that you have Glacial Spike, built into his base kit in the Master of the Cold Dark Quest. He has like a bunch of level 7 talents that no one has ever picked because they had to have the spike. Yep. And I think people are going to realize that his level 7 tier, now that you just sort of have a free pick on that tier, is huge power. It's a huge power spike, and it really does change the way the Kel'Thuzad works. And the other two things that I do want to keep an eye out on as the meta continues to change this early in NGS season number 5, a couple of very slight changes. I've seen both of them in effect. Shtukov received some buffs, so maybe he starts coming back into the meta. Maybe he will be the next sort of third support, if you will. And then I did get to see that the Tychus upgrades. Boy, it always hurts when Tracer is like -1 on her attack damage. Those nerfs are enough to push her out of the meta, but we do see Tychus getting +2 basic attack damage. Is that enough to move our favorite Rebel up? And maybe we'll get a little bit more play.
I mean, it's a lot if you consider how fast his attack speed is. But is it enough? It's not like he was in a terrible spot. He's been getting picked professionally, and you really want him for the Odin when you're wanting to take him, or his minigun.
Yeah.
So the basic attack damage increase, like, does that really change much? It's like a little bit of a buff.
Well, looking at it, I mean, it's about, it's almost a 10% increase in damage. So, that's when they want to buff a hero a little bit and get their win rate up a little bit, Blizzard usually aims for around 5 to 10%, 5 on the lower end, 10 being on the upper end. And this is more, I think, on the upper end of those buffs. So I think Tychus could come back, and he was always good and competitive just for Odin, for his siege capabilities.
And speaking of some of these Terran heroes, Raynor getting a nerf on Ace in the Hole at level 1. Do you guys think this gives room to start seeing more veteran marksmen coming out for level 1 picks here on Raynor?
If you're playing quick match.
I'm going to say Exterminator. Honestly, even if you're playing quick match, wave clear, being able to rip bosses, being able to kill camps quickly, being able to clear lanes is huge. So if you're not going Ace in the Hole, I highly recommend you give Exterminator a shot.
I think if Ace in the Hole is found out to be very weak, now that it's only 15%, if people start seeing reduced efficacy on that front, where you might see the change come in is that maybe Raynor is not going to be played as the primary or the only range DPS. So for example, when you have like Maiev comps, you may not see Maiev Raynor just because maybe he doesn't do quite enough damage anymore. But I do still think with Hyperion, which I think is just a fantastic heroic right now, and it might be a little undervalued, and all of the other things that Raynor brings to the table, I still think he functions extremely well as no worse than a secondary ranged hero.
Yeah, it's a shame that Hyperion wasn't seeing use before when Ace in the Hole was crazy good. Ace in the Hole with Hyperion was absolutely devastating.
Yes,
but that's old and that's gone now. So forget I even said that.
All right, so we'll keep an eye. We will keep an eye on the balance patch. But again, a couple things that we're keeping an eye on, and we hope to update you guys in episode number 7. We're definitely going to keep an eye on Whitemane, how the stats play out, what the build looks like, because anytime we have a new hero, we just definitely need to go ahead and coordinate with a bigger data set. Chromie gone, maybe Kel'Thuzad comes back. I mean, are there any other heroes that you guys would specifically highlight as ones to look for future updates?
I've seen more Shtukov play. I think Shtukov getting the health buff, a little bit of extra basic attack damage, and the change to Vigorous Reuptake, which is really one of his best talents, getting buffed from 25 to 30%. I think that's going to potentially put him back in a bit. And then the other one, and it's a hero you don't see too often, but I've been seeing it in some of my games. Artanis has been playing well lately with that slight change he had.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Artanis. Looking at it, that psionic energy increasing that armor, that could give him survivability, although shield battery and shield surge are still very good. So really this is just Blizzard buffing underperforming talents.
Joining us now is an influencer who you can catch at all levels of Heroes of the Storm. Currently he shares casting duties with Solid Jake for the Heroes Hype Open Division season. Pulling double duty at the pro level, behind the scenes is Tempo Storm's Scheduling Division North America Regional Manager. He made his first appearance on the big stage for Blizz Heroes during the Western Clash. Most days of the week you can catch him on twitch.tv/Kala. Playing the video game and hosting his exceptional community coaching series, we are joined today by the stylish rock god and superlative educationalist, Kala. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
That was the most brilliant intro I've ever heard of my life. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good. I'm getting there. If that's the one contribution that I make on this podcast before I ghost out of here, thumbs up. Thank you for joining us. All right. So overview. Right now, what is going on in your orbit? What is the Kala life like right now? And where and how are you involved with Heroes of the Storm?
My life is a little bit weird right now. I am kind of in this point where I've opened up a lot of free time for myself, and I have a lot of these ambitions within the game that I'm just trying to push for. I want to be making more content. I want to be, creating more YouTube videos and streaming more and just doing more casting as much as I can. Basically, my focus is trying to be that one-stop place for all educational content within Heroes of the Storm. That's kind of why I've stepped away from coaching and more into, as you explained, just like the management role with Tempo Storm, just separating myself a little bit from the team so I can just focus on objective community content.
All right, now you had a real big get there doing announcing and casting at the Clash itself. How was that experience?
It was absolutely fantastic. I have to be honest. I before going to the actual Clash, like I had crazy anxiety and I had a bit of like an imposter syndrome, thinking like I shouldn't be here. I'm not meant to be here. I don't deserve this. I haven't put in the work. And, it took other Heroes of the Storm community members, such as J House, such as Tetcher, such as like the whole casting crew, basically to, convince me that I was there for the right reasons and that I loved the game and that I didn't have anything to worry about. And they're all just so fantastic. But yeah, the whole experience was amazing. Like Blizzard is just so incredible. All of the Heroes of the Storms fans that I got to meet and my own fans that I got to meet there at the event was just fantastic. And I did feel 100% in my element at the Western Clash, especially when it came to the analytics. I loved working the desk. I loved working the replays. I'm not where I'm at with the replays yet, with like on the desk, but I continue. Like I want to continue to get better at that. It's so much fun. It's 100% in my element.
Awesome. Did you find that it got easier as the Clash went on to cast and do desk stuff?
Yep. Yeah, as you become more familiar with it, it just becomes easier and easier. However, I think I'm one of the rare people who has zero nerves when it comes to any sort of live performance. I've played hundreds of shows before in my day. I've been streaming for a couple years now too. So I have absolutely zero nerves with anything. I think you can give me a sea of 100,000 people in front of me and nothing will happen. So I was very lucky when with that aspect, just not being nervous whatsoever. But I do think that I grew in comfortability and just in the interactions with my other casters throughout that weekend, because it is a skill that is learned.
Stringing narratives together is a very interesting process for me, and we asked Gilly about the work that she does for that. What did you find that you had to do during the Western Clash in order to get these going, like during each game and then in between games?
I was lucky enough that like a lot of my work there was the analyst. So, the hosts on the desk were basically the ones who would do a lot of the, I guess, story-driven content, and I would play off with that, and I would talk about their picks, and I would talk about their play styles. So my job there wasn't as much to develop the narratives so much as I would say Trixler, Jayhow, and Gillyweed, because they were the ones doing the hosting work, and they did such a phenomenal job that honestly I didn't have to do a whole lot of that. But watching them, like they create the most brilliant stories for players, and they just give you these stories as the analyst, and you just get to talk about these players and the teams, and they make my job so easy. It was that's basically my best way of explaining it.
Yeah, so like Leftovers obviously performed really well in the tournament. What kind of your thoughts on teams moving through Open Division and then being able to perform at that global level? Do you think you're going to see a lot more of this? Because I feel like the Open Division's been really strong recently.
I do. My biggest concern with, I guess I would just talk about the North American Open Division, because that's where I'm most familiar with, is just these teams' availability to both A, get scrims with HGC teams, and B, have enough time in their day to really dedicate themselves, because there's not a whole lot of money in the Open Division, and some of these players have jobs. Honestly, a lot of them have jobs. Some of them have lives outside of esports, and they're trying to keep those in check and keep those running smoothly, and that can be very difficult to compete with players who have organization salaries, HGC salaries, and they just get to play Heroes of the Storm 24/7. All the odds are stacked against these open division teams. However, I do see so much individual strength in teams, like the Necrodancers, like Freebird, Scythe Esports, Reborn, those top teams in the open division that have been performing really, really well recently. If like they have the right focus, I deal with these teams outside of the open division, and I'll watch replays with them every once in a while, and it's just so cool to see the drive that these players and these teams have to be the best.
Do you think that the cutthroat nature of the open division right now maybe has like an unintended effect of making the players who sort of stick it out? Did they become stronger? Because we've seen like Jin make the step up. We see Chimera show up this weekend for LFM. We've seen players kind of maybe unfortunately give up on their dreams and back out. Like, does it maybe, I don't want to say weed out players who aren't fully into it, but do you think it does actually, help them out mentally, to get prepared in that? I mean, these chances are so few and far between that when they do come, we see players really seizing these opportunities.
I do. The environment that the open division creates is, as you mentioned, the word cutthroat. I do think that it puts you in such a position where not only are you trying to perform the best when it comes to your team because you want to make a Crucible and you want to have a shot at knocking out an HGC team and earning yourself a position in the HGC, but also being an incredible teammate, building a good reputation, networking well, and just showcasing your own individual abilities. I think that is equally important, and all of these players know it because there have been many times, and it's happened over and over and over again, where players will be selected from the amateur scene and they get stepped up to the HGC. And quite often it's usually pretty obvious when you watch the players in the open division which ones are going to make it and which ones still just need to keep hustling and keep grinding. Because members in the HGC, I can say that every single person in the HGC individually is not better than the open division players. And I have no problem saying that. I think that there are some situations where players on HGC teams are there because of circumstance and they are not working as hard as the open division players, and they will lose their position to these players because they are thirsty.
So we've seen a lot over the past couple seasons where teams have decided to break apart within the HGC and teams have entered in their place. And then, of course, we've also had players like Vin most recently and Dark Chimera as well, getting their spot in the HGC through more untraditional ways. Do you see that as being almost an easier path, that it might be a reason why we see a lot of these top open division teams deciding to switch around rosters so frequently? Or how do you kind of feel that situation plays out, or ways that you think it might improve if you're one of these captains on these teams?
That's an interesting question. I think no matter what way you look at it, if a full team gets put into the HGC because of a disband, that's no matter what, that's a negative situation, I would think, because you're taking a team that has consistent HGC level scrims and you're replacing it with a arguably lesser team with less experience. It doesn't mean that team can't close the gap in a short period of time, but right out of the gates, that is a little bit of a downgrade when it comes to the skill of a region. But then as far as that translating into open division teams wanting to trade out their players more frequently and swap up to make the best possible roster, I think that the only reason why players would be doing that is just to have a reasonable shot at getting into Crucible and then knocking out a lower team. I think that's really the only reason why players are switching out at all.
And this week is the last Open Div Cup. And we've actually seen a lot of teams make a number of roster changes. There's a lot of swaps coming in. It seems like teams are trying to make moves here at the break, and we have plenty of folks who have worked their way up through NGS up to the HGC Open. What are your thoughts heading into the last cup? Outside of Scythe, who has locked their spot in, who are you looking forward to in the playoffs, and then maybe possibly making a Crucible push?
My big three right now are Freebirds, Reborn, and Necrodancers. Those are the three that they have so much potential. Like, you look at Necrodancers sitting at 260 points in fourth place, Reborn with 290 in third place. They got some work to do to catch up to Freebirds, but Freebirds has seen changes, and so have the other teams. And I really think that the changes for Reborn have been the most impactful. That's the team that I'm really looking out for moving forward today, actually.
Shout out to Crosby, by the way. Hopefully he'll hear this one, and hopefully it will work out well for him. Kala, you are most notable within the NGS community for being an outstanding coach and someone who works with individual players on a very frequent basis. In fact, many NGS players have improved their game by going to you. I think when I was perusing your Twitch page, the last few names that popped up, I saw Make Love Not War, who's on Regen Black. I saw Enigmatic, who's been playing for OSD. He's been around for quite a while. So tell us about your community coaching. What do you do? What are the details of it? Who is it for? And what has the experience been like as you've grown this just massive community?
Well, I started it out because everybody is complaining in Heroes of the Storm that there's not enough educational content and nobody was making any. And I didn't 100% agree, but I could see where that was coming from. You know, if I was wanting to learn how to play a specific hero, I could go on YouTube, and I actually could not find it from enough of a reputable source for me to deem that information as worthwhile to just jump into and learn as much as possible. So I decided to create community coaching. I decided, do I ask people for, a sub to do it? Do I ask for $5, $10, something like that? Or do I just do it for free? And I decided doing it for free would be the best because, it just shows people that they can trust me. I'm just putting out my work and trying to get individual players better for free because I want my game to get better. I want Heroes of the Storm to get better in general. That was the whole point of it. And that's basically why I made it. And I've had so much fun with it. I've done just community coaching in North America, which is Sundays at 7:00. If you want to learn more information, you just join my Discord. There's an information channel on there. And I do now community coaching EU, which is on Thursdays at 7 p.m. London time, something
Excellent.
like that. Yeah. So I'm trying to put out as much content as possible to get people to learn the game. Because it is a daunting task. There's so many maps, so many different heroes, so much information. And I've been on teams forever now, like basically since the beginning of this game. So I think that I have a good perspective when it comes to learning the game. And I've been playing competitive games like this for my whole life.
Right on. When you fire up a VOD, you get started, what keys and core concepts are you specifically looking for, and ideas that can translate to players that may be looking at their own VODs?
Sorry, could you repeat the question one time? My headphones suck.
That's fine. All right. When you fire up a VOD and you are taking a look at an individual player, what are the keys and the core concepts of play that you are looking for? And are there any differences as you start to move up or down the MMR tiers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends on so many different variables, what roles the players are used to. Before I even get into that, actually, every single replay I start, I ask for the player to give a little bit of a background on themselves, not just in Heroes of the Storm, but in previous games. Some people will be like, yeah, I was a Diamond 1 League of Legends player. I'm trying to climb. I'm low master. So then that just tells me immediately, okay, so mechanically they're probably sound. They're probably just monkeys when it comes to the game. They have no idea what to do on the map, when to take camps, how to draft, what talents to go, that sort of stuff. They can hit their skills and they can stutter step well. They have everything mechanically down. They just need help with the game. On the contrary, a bronze player approaches me and they probably know, and they have only played World of Warcraft before, or maybe some Minecraft or something like that. I would expect them to have low mechanical ability, low game sense, basically kind of trying to teach the person the core concepts of the game that will help them get better over time if they can just focus on those core concepts. So it really just depends on so many different variables where I start when it comes to coaching through the replays. And again, like to kind of talk about what we were discussing earlier, a lot of the times I will see the same problem exist for these players throughout the entire game. And sometimes I sound like a broken record when I'm going over replays, because I will say it every single time I see that same problem reoccurring throughout the replay. I'll mention it just so that it kind of solidifies it within the player's head, and it allows them to fix those problems. Yeah, it all just depends on so many different factors when it comes to approaching a specific player and trying to fix their place.
I've watched many of your VODs and I've heard you harp on these same points, and we always kind of agree with them. Do you feel like it's on the player to maybe open up and stop being stubborn to the way that they maybe have learned something? Because sometimes you can actually hear in a video there's a little bit of pushback at the beginning, and then you sort of build the greater picture for them. Do you feel like maybe players are maybe guilty of, by and large, being too entrenched in their own beliefs.
Yep. And I think even I fall to that very same issue. I think everybody does. So I also try to approach, especially when I get to go into replays with grandmasters. I try to make sure that I'm learning from them as well, because that's also why I'm doing this, so that I can learn more about the game. I must say, like, from doing all these replays, I have become the best player that I have ever been at Heroes of the Storm right now, and I'm yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. I just see this game differently from all of the ways that I've been learning from so many different players, and it's amazing. But I absolutely think that a lot of players do suffer from that, because they'll get comfortable in a certain way of playing, or they'll be so convinced by something, and when you tell them the complete opposite, it can be difficult for some players. I'm really lucky because I've been doing this for so long now. So if I say something to somebody, 9 times out of 10, they'll just believe me because it's me to them. They'll just trust me, which, yeah, it makes it much easier for me. But I absolutely do think that that is a problem with a lot of players.
I am curious. Do you find that people coming from the same game make the same kind of mistakes? Like, can you tell a Dota player or a League of Legends player when they play the game?
No, I can't. That's interesting, because I noticed some things like that when it comes to League of Legends players. I don't know if I've really dealt with a lot of Dota players, but in League, the game is super slow. So when they see like these 4-person rotates really early, or they'll overextend super early, because they're like, wait, why are people fighting right now? Like, what's going on? It's like, dude, it's 2 minutes into the game. Like, we got to get camps. We got to skirmish. Like, that's the whole point of HOTS, and sometimes those players, it takes them a few weeks or months or what have you to really grasp the concept. It's actually really funny. There's a super popular League of Legends player / streamer named Meteos, and I was playing some games with him one time, and just watching the way that he's an LCS player, so like a professional league player, and watching him play Heroes of the Storm was absolutely hilarious. Like, he plays like slow in the beginning, and then just tries to flex mechanically throughout the entire like mid to late game, and it is interesting watching that sort of thing happen with players, but I haven't noticed it a whole lot.
Now, you talked about coaching people at all sorts of different MMRs. You went through I think it was gold, maybe silver to master run there, and there are a lot of clips of you discovering new ways people play the game in those lower tiers. What are you can go over them here, sort of summarize them. Like, what are the basic things that you see different in the lower tiers compared to the top tiers, and which one of them surprised you?
The overwhelming disrespect for how important minions and soak is at the lower levels of this game was what blew my mind. To me, minions it's the whole game. Heroes of the Storm is collecting experience, and then using that experience to get yourself talents, which are basically Heroes of the Storm's items, and then fighting for objectives, and then taking structures with those leads. That's how the game works from a very basic level. It's like saying, okay, chess, you move pieces and then kill the other pieces. It's like if people in chess were just moving around their pieces and forgetting to do the killing part.
I want to give a shout out to Ripper on the side, because I've watched Ripper's VODs, and he will count the number of minion waves that you miss in the early part. And I think for teams that maybe are just new to NGS or trying to figure out how do we maximize what we're doing, especially in the early game, count your minion waves, and you will start to find out why all of a sudden you're down a level and they're hitting 10 before you.
I've been saying this to players and teams, because people don't get it. But when you give it to them this way, it's super simple, and then they realize the gravity of the situation. A kill isn't even worth the same amount as a minion wave until post level 5.
I'm sure most people actually don't know about that. That's a huge trying to figure out what XP means, especially as you move up and down, is really difficult. But once you get past that, I just wanted to ask something specific, because I've always had pushback in VODs where teams don't understand aggro, especially in the early game. And one thing that is a constant that you harp on in your VODs, and you try to get this point across to people, is trying to cut off rotations, trying to live on the other team's side of the map. So what is your philosophy on especially how to play in the early game around the 4-man rotation, when it's okay to make aggressive plays, especially with mercs or maybe those 1-man advantages?
It's tough to give just a general rule on
Hmm.
that, but a lot of the times it comes down to, like, as a team, if you're rotating, you have to have some sort of objective in mind. You know, if the rotation is between like the middle and the bottom side of the map, and there's three of you, and you have one person already down on the bottom side pushing in the minion wave, your three needs to rotate through the middle and make sure that that person on the minion wave doesn't get dove. That's like the whole point of a rotation, to look for angles to maybe aggress on your opponents, or to basically secure resources on the map. And at that point, the resource is your own player attacking the minion waves. So that's like the whole point of the 4-person rotation, and a lot of that gets missed too. But a lot of that falls on the main tank, and I am most aggressive towards main tanks in replays because everything relies on the main tank, literally everything. It's the most important role in the game. You are the mobile vision. You are the one who looks for team fights. You're the one who can peel best most of the time. Like, you are the team a lot of the time. And yeah, I see that sort of play style being missed a lot too in the lower levels of the game. But it is hard to give a kind of general, I guess, explanation of what you're supposed to be doing. But that's probably the best thing I can explain. It's just secure resources and then use your rotations to take vision so that your opponents can't just steal everything back from you. It's just like taking inches off the map.
Well, I know a lot of main tanks in NGS are going to be listening to this across all of our divisions, all the way from the top to the bottom. Yeah,
So some of them may be in A West, maybe playing for Moto Miracle.
Some of them may be playing in less than 4 hours. What do you think? What are some good resources for them to go look at right now? Like maybe on your channel, like is it good for them to watch like you coach a tank position on your community coaching?
I wish so badly that because some of the replays that I do with teams are off stream and off my YouTube channel, but they are the best ones because I can be just absolutely 100% ruthless about everything and not have to worry about anything else. Like, I can just dive onto these players and help them fix their problems. And I wish that some of those were available in some cases, but I do have a whole bunch of team-based replays on my YouTube channel, which I can provide a link with later. But yeah, that would probably be your best resource, honestly. And aside from that, study top level teams. Watch where their warriors go. Watch which bushes they control when their teammates are rotating, when their teammates are picking up camps, when their teammates are pushing in waves. Watch all of that sort of stuff, because where the warrior is so important.
So a lot of these,
I mean,
go ahead if you want to follow up.
I was gonna say, like, just to follow up on that real quick, like, a lot of people might be listening to this and say, oh, well, I don't know if I should go download, Gen G or, Tempo Storm or Heroes Hearth or Dignitas and watch them because they're pros and I'm just an amateur and I don't know that I should play like the pros do. Is it a good idea to watch how pros behave?
Yes, I think so. Because that's how I've learnt everything about the game, just basically watching them. I think that, watching somebody like Breeze, he was my favorite person to watch. He controlled vision, I would say, better than any other team in the West for years. He was just that little bit above everybody else. So just find you can just find a tank that you like, that you're kind of, passionate about on a personal level, just somebody that you enjoy watching. That's how I've always learned video games. I'll find one member within a community or two people, and I just like them for who they are and the style of play that they have. And then I just focus on them and learn from them. And I think that a lot of players could do the very same thing. You have those replays available, so why not?
So it sounds like a lot of what you're kind of suggesting here, it's being your own shot caller in a way. But I mean, at least with our NGS teams here, most of them have a dedicated shot caller. Do you have anything specific that shot callers need to be working on that will make them communicate better with their team? Maybe not just looking at the map and understanding where they should be, but how to communicate with their team. Have you had any experience in trying to help anyone you've coached before with that side of an aspect, with just the actual shot calling?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest points of failure for shot callers within amateur teams is not willing to micromanage or make big risks at the expense of maybe just being the one who made the call that loses something. So as far as micromanagement goes, I think it's important for teams as they are growing for the shot caller, if the shot caller knows what they're doing, to tell specific heroes where to go. So saying, Kael'thas, you have to be mid-top with everybody else. Something happens on the map, and now all of a sudden the support needs to soak bottom lane. The shot caller has to call that. Actually say specific players where to go on the map, because once you do that a few times, then the players start to understand, and then they'll just do it more automatically. Then the shot caller doesn't even have to, micromanage the team as much. That was one of the biggest things that I've noticed with teams. The other thing is just taking in, again, all of the information as a shot caller, the information that your team gives you, the information that's available on the minimap and the map itself, and being able to make the right calls. And that's a lot of what I do with teams in replays, like amateur teams, is go over what the right calls are. And like there are sometimes, yesterday I did a replay, for example, with a team in the morning off stream, and I paused the replay and I'm like, okay, what is the right call? And they told me what the call was, and then I explained why it wasn't right. And the funny, I hadn't gone through this replay. I explained why it wasn't right, and then I explained what the right call was, and I explained what would happen if they did their call and happen. And if maybe it's just because I've been doing these for so long, but I can see these sort of things. And as soon as other players kind of get that same switch where they're able to see these things too, other shot callers, they grow so much as players. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting at this point, but this game just gets me so excited. It's just, that's the biggest thing for these shot callers to work on, is just making the right calls with the information that they have.
I mean, hey, we're hot storks too. We
love the rants.
We're each of us are notable talkers to the point at which we have our own podcast. But continuing on what you were saying about shot callers and trying to get teams on the same page, how do you handle failure? Because we have a lot of NGS teams that again are new and are trying to navigate so many different things that go into the coordination involved in just being in the league. But, we always have the question of, teams that sort of fall off in the beginning and they don't come back. How do you handle failure really on a team-wide basis? What is your encouragement? And you could even bring up some examples from Tempo, because we saw Tempo maybe have a bad clash. They came out in week 1 and looked pretty darn good.
Yeah. For example, if you're an NGS team that's currently 1-5,
so losing is the best thing you can do as a
Yes.
starting team. It's better than winning, because if you're winning and you're just playing Heroes of the Storm, you're not learning anything. Well, that's not necessarily true, but you kind of know what I mean. But if you're losing, there are specific points of failure throughout the game that you can really hone in on. Again, just kind of focusing on what I was saying earlier, where these consistencies or inconsistencies throughout your game will always happen. And if you're losing games, you should be able to jump in a replay and find out exactly why, work on it, fix it, and don't let it happen again. Like, mistakes are fine. It's just, and mistakes aren't weakness, and losing isn't weakness, but making the same mistakes over and over and over again absolutely is.
Awesome. Now, I do have one question, and listening to you here, talk about watching replays, and like teams watch a replay and they go, oh, what's the right call here? And they say it and they get it wrong. How do you know when you're right? Because a lot of times people will make a call and it'll work out even though it was the wrong call because the other team made a mistake. So what are you looking for to show yourself that you've made the right decision?
Prove it. I feel like Heroes of the Storm is just like a math equation where you need to provide a proof. And that has been actually the past couple years, is looking at a specific situation, whatever, maybe it's 16-16 and, the map looks like a certain way. What happens if the red team does X? What are the potential things that could happen? And you have to basically weigh out all of the positives, all of the negatives, and their variance. Like, what is the chance of these things happening? It's so hard to say, whether or not your call is right. The only thing that can fix it is experience. Just seeing those same situations play out time and time again. And a lot of it comes to just understanding the game too, what map you're on, what time you're at, which team has power spikes, which team has specific drafts, which team wins in the team fight, which team wins in the vision war, like all of that sort of stuff plays into effect as well. And it all just comes with experience. And I think that, again, if players are watching my replays and watching a lot of the content that I put out, I think that the information that they're seeking will come much faster, because I've been in those environments for a long time and I'm trying my best to get them to the same level as me.
Yeah, to that point, like if in a team there is a disagreement about those things, how do you handle that disagreement within the team?
Both parties provide their proofs. and they have to be open to the other person as well. Because okay, this is a good example, and I think more people need to adopt this mentality. So there's two players, okay? One has one idea about the play, the other has another idea about the play. They both propose their ideas and their reasons why their play was right. Both players need to be excited about the other person's idea, because what if it's better than theirs? Then that means that they just get better at the game and they become smarter at the game. That's freaking fantastic. But a lot of people will play the opposite game. They'll enter into a situation where one of their teammates thinks something differently about the game, as opposed to them, like over a specific play, and they get so headstrong that they want their idea to be right because they want to be right. And that is just it's a toxic mentality, right out of the gates, because that's not how you grow in any way intellectually. So as soon as players can also get that fixed, oof, it's a beauty.
And
So it's that time, guys. I believe it's the lightning round.
Thunder.
All right, Kala. So we do this. It's a recurring segment on the show. We just kind of hit you with a few quick questions. Some are kind of fun. Some are just kind of like quick questions of like, what do you think, this, that, or the other? And a few quick hitters here for you, if you don't mind.
I'm shaking.
All right, so who, in your opinion, is the number 3 solo laner right now? We have Yarel and Blaze. Who do you think's the third pick there?
Dahaka.
I told
Good
you.
choice.
Bobo.
Good choice.
I was looking for the Leo. I had hope.
If it were like preference, I would say Leoric, but
Yes.
Dahaka for sure.
Okay, so Kael'thas or Jaina right now, if you're picking between the two?
Jaina.
I really think I think season 5, by the way, is going to be the rise of Kael'thas. We're seeing it early. I believe we even saw Jay Shrita break it out for NA, so maybe everybody was paying attention.
Kael'thas looks good. He is really susceptible to dive and only has the barrier, whereas Jaina has full ice block and just seems a little bit more survivable with her constant kiting in the meta. But I think Kael'thas is fantastic.
Would you ever let June play Ana?
Yes, especially right now. Ana's in a decent place.
And I brought that up and I put the note in there. I actually think Ana is really good. And I'm saying this really just to give people encouragement. I think Ana is great against white main. Try it, kids. Have fun with it. Take it for a spin.
So we know, obviously, you play in a band. We actually had a fun time listening to some of the tracks. But what would be your dream venue for Kitsune to play at, either historical or current?
Dream venue. Woodstock.
Wait,
There you go.
Yeah.
Obviously 69. Let's not even bring up that abomination that happened when we were kids.
But there was a
With
mud
Jimmy.
fight, Bobo.
There was
Yeah, absolutely. That or Yoyogi Park in Japan.
Ooh.
What's the backstory on that one? I don't know. Educate me.
It's just a place I went to one time when I was traveling in my late teen, or maybe it was early 20s. It's just a really beautiful park with a bunch of performers everywhere. It's just so fantastic. And
Did you see the greaser guys dancing?
yes,
I love those. I love those guys. I used to live in
Brilliant.
Japan.
So outside of yourself, because we all know it's you, who's the best dressed at the Western Clash this past event?
Lauren.
For the
Oh,
casters.
you killed it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Day
Lauren for
day
dudes.
2, the
Gilly for
black
ladies.
shirt, black jacket, and the white tie Haloran had on. Fresh.
Yeah, I was sweating the entire time. Tetcher close second, I think. He's like me, where he's got a little bit more of the wild clothing, so I gotta appreciate him. And honestly, everyone looked so fantastic. I gotta call out my boys.
I want more pink on Trixler.
Yeah, that guy looks good in everything he wears.
When is the appropriate time to throw hypers in the chat?
At all times, always.
Got him.
Don't even disrespect like that. You know it's always.
Oh, they just took us giant camp hypers. Let's
Hypers. My hands are up literally right now.
And last question, and we'll ask you to exclude Tempo Storm, but who is your NA All-Star team right now in HGC?
Let's go with Heroes Hearth.
Ooh.
All right.
Was that as diplomatic as one could be, or what?
I mean,
Yeah.
all the other ones, they're just not quite there when it comes. I love what Heroes Heart does. I love what the team does. I have a lot of respect for Koth and Luck too, their coach. Guy's amazing. I got to work with him for like a year and a bit. He's so fantastic. And every one of their teammates is just so level-headed. I've got to spend a lot of time with them. Really, really like them on a personal and professional level.
Right on. I mean, they definitely seem quite chill. It feels like everybody's been picking up on that vibe, but looks like Tempo got the best of them last week. All right. Before we let you go, Kala, your opportunity for shoutouts. Let us know where we can find you, what's going on with all the social media stuff, and certainly where can everybody go to learn more about the community coaching program as well. All that fun stuff.
Right on. I stream on Twitch. That's basically my main job at twitch.tv/Kala. My Discord is discord.gg/Kala. My Twitter is twitter.com/CurtisLloydNBD. And those are basically my 3 forms of social media. And I just wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity, and as well as everybody who supports me day in and day out on my stream. Everybody's like, I don't know, even just like a year ago, I got 20 viewers and 10 subs, and now my stream has just completely skyrocketed, and it's so amazing to have that kind of support. It was scary quitting my full-time job that I went to school for earlier this year, and but I just trusted that this was the right thing to do, and my community and the HOTS community has just proven it to me every single day. So I just wanted to say I love all of them, and thank you.
On behalf of NGS, obviously everyone is super excited to have, well, I guess at this point, if you're listening, you've listened to it already, NGS, but we've been excited to bring you on, and for us, the hosts here of the show, thank you so much for joining us. And we really look forward to everything you're bringing forward to all of your viewers.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And for us, those of us that are going to BlizzCon, I hope to see you there.
You
absolutely will. I'll be excited to meet everybody.
Right on.
All right, and that's going to do it for episode 6. Another enormous shout out for our guest, Kala, joining us today. We had a fantastic time with him. And I want to remind you guys, if you want to support us here on this podcast and NGS in general, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Nexus Gaming Series. Head on over there, take a look. For myself, I'm Murda, one of your hosts. You can find me on Twitter at MurdaRG, on twitch.tv/MurdaRG, doing a ton of casting, loving getting to meet all of you new teams. Ghost, where can we find you, man?
Duel Mephisto. Sorry, what? You can reach me at twitch.tv/GhostDunk. I will be casting NGS all season long. It's going to be a fantastic time. You can also reach me at twitter.com/illuminatedwax, which I will not change. Sorry, Bobo. And say hi to me on Discord.
I'm going to duel you for that. I actually finally followed it this week. That was my recalcitrance.
You know I'll win, right?
You're playing tank now, so you're back in my wheelhouse there, boy.
Yeah, we'll see.
As for me, Professor Bobo, you can catch me. I am at Prof Bobo Hots. I changed it for the community. You can also catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Prof_Bobo. And you can catch me and a host of other casters on the main page. The mothership will be beaming up twitch.tv/Nexus Gaming Series. We're going to aim to have the game of the week on Thursday, maybe some Wednesdays. We'll keep you guys updated for sure on the Twitter. We'll also be doing some weekend flex scheduling. So like I hosted a triple header last week. I know Mongoose is going to jump on this weekend, and hopefully there will be more content out on the main page for you guys in the future. So again, keep an eye out there, and definitely keep an eye out for the supplemental podcast, which we will look to get out this week, which will be available to patrons. Jaxter is going to keep everybody updated there, as we will have the long form interview with Kala posted as soon as we can get that edited and out to the family. Thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 6 of Nexus Now.
Yeah, I just wanted on a real quick shout out to Smithel, my man listening out there. Hey, Smithel, loving you is easy because you're beautiful.